3 lifelong friends, 6 trusty balls, and endless NFL takes. Welcome to 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast.
Welcome to episode 55 of 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and I'm here with my co-host, Will. Avery isn't joining us today because he's busy with work, and so it'll just be Will and I today. And I wanted to start off today's show a little bit differently. So I've been hearing a lot more talk about the arm measurements thing for players like Ruben Bain and Cassius Howell. And so I had the thought the other day, how long are my arms? And so I got a tape measure, and I measured my arms, and I wanted to show you guys how long my arms are just to put this arm thing into perspective.
Now,
And so just so you guys know, go ahead.
notably, you cannot extend your arms all the way.
Yes.
It has always
I was
been a
gonna mention-
thing.
yes.
Okay, yeah, I've played a lot, hours and hours of basketball with you. You cannot extend your arms all the way, and your elbows are very pointy.
They are. Yes. So I was going to say, I am 6'1", and I cannot extend my arms all the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my arm and show you. And Will, I want you to read the number that shows up on this tape measure.
Okay.
And so this is going to go from the start of my shoulder to the very tip of my middle finger. So I'm going to measure my arm and tell me, what is that number right there, Will?
I mean, it looks like a 30, maybe a 31. It depends on where you measure it at.
31 inches. 31 inches. I have longer arms than Ruben Bain, and my arms don't extend all the way.
Now I'm
But to all the
curious
people
what
on the
mine
internet,
is.
to all the people on the internet who are about to tell me how bad of an athlete I am, just let me have this, okay? Don't take this away from me. Ruben Bain's arms are shorter than mine, and just let me have it. Just let me have it.
I'm going to get a tape measure. I'm very curious now.
Okay. While Will is getting a tape measure, just to let you guys know what we're doing today, we're going to be giving you guys some more scouting reports for the 2026 NFL Draft.
Okay, so you said from tip of the middle finger to in your shoulder region, and I'll let you read the camera here. So tip of the middle finger. You can't read
To right
that.
where your shoulder begins.
Where my
I
shoulder
honestly
begins,
cannot see that.
Like right here?
Like right here.
Oh, inside.
I looked this up. That's where they measure. Well, they say from the back of your shoulder blade, but I can't obviously do that. So, and I cannot see that. Your screen is kind of blurry, to be
It's
honest.
all right. It's a crisp 34 inches.
Will also has longer arms than Ruben Bain.
I also am 6'3", 2 different measurements, and 33-inch long shoulders.
Not that that means anything, honestly. I just thought it was
No,
interesting.
terrible
and
athlete.
Had the
Terrible. Abysmal. I mean, worse than Lee Hunter athletic. But that's not the point. I'm not trying to get the NFL.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It was just a question that came to my mind, so I decided to measure. And it turns out that I have longer arms. Well, we both do. We both have longer arms than Ruben Bain and Cassius Howell, and I'm sure other players in the NFL draft as well.
I would not have guessed that. No offense to you, but again, notably, you don't extend your arms all the way.
Just so everybody can see.
They-
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's like
doesn't work on this
170
side either.
degrees or so, but it's not the full flat 180. But still, okay, yeah, that's short.
Yes. Yes. So Ruben Bain does have, and Cassius Howell, they both have very short arms. Take that for what you guys will. But I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to point that out. Do a little activity to start the show off today. So there you go. But anyways, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about some more 2026 NFL draft scouting reports for you guys. And then we're also going to talk about some of the proposed rule changes that were proposed by the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as rule changes that were proposed by the competition committee. And so to get us started, let's just go ahead and start with the first one here, which was submitted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The proposed rule change submitted by the Pittsburgh Steelers was to make permanent the change implemented during the 2025 season that permits clubs to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective unrestricted free agents during the 2-day negotiation period, and to permit clubs to make travel arrangements with such players upon agreeing to terms. So this rule was previously implemented on a trial basis, and the 2-day legal tampering window that just happened was the first time we saw this rule in effect. So before the NFL allowed teams to do this, teams could only negotiate with agents of the players, not the players themselves, during the 2-day tampering window. So Will, give us some thoughts on this proposed rule by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Just to clarify, you said until now they were only able to talk to agents, not players, correct?
During the 2-day
Right.
tampering period, they could
During that
only talk
window.
to their agents, not the players directly.
And now this year we saw they were able to talk to players, correct?
Yes, but it was on a trial basis. So this was the first time
Okay.
that they've tried it out. So it's not
The-
a permanent thing yet, which is why
right.
the Steelers have proposed it.
They're going to have to make this permanent. They're going to have to. You get more and more players like Lamar Jackson who are out there representing themselves. And if they're trying to negotiate a contract early in the free agency period, more and more players are wanting to represent themselves and or be a part of the discussion. Agents, not that they're going away by any means, but players are becoming more financially responsible for the things for their own contracts, not just trusting agents or trusting a third party, which I think is incredibly smart. It's a wonderful business decision. Let me see what's written down. I trust you, but I also trust but verify. And so with more people, more players representing themselves and trusting themselves to make that deal, and B, more players wanting to be a part of the business decision. That way they can see their own financial future and not have somebody else sign off for them. They're going to have to make this permanent because when somebody big, like, again, I'm going to keep referring back to Lamar Jackson, he's the biggest one I can think of off the top of my head who self-represents, when his contract is up, that's when you want to get done. If it's not the Ravens, someone else has to sign him, and that's something they're going to want to get done very early in free agency. That way they know how much money they have to spend the rest of free agency.
I agree with you. I actually really like this proposed rule change by the Steelers, and I don't think there's really much significance here as far as how the fans are going to see it. But I think where we will see this be significant is in teams being able to sell themselves to the players.
Yeah.
Because before, it was almost like a game of telephone where the first person says banana, and on the other end, it comes out as fart. Then the team tells the agent, and the agent tells the player, and then the player decides on information that was told to them indirectly.
Right.
So I'm sure it's not that bad because these are professional agents, but it is different being told something directly from someone. So if this rule does take effect, teams could now personally tell players during the 2-day tampering window what their vision is for them, how they would be used, what the goals are for the team, the culture, and everything a player wants to know directly instead of through their agent. And I think that will go a long way with the players because now they can say, well, I was deciding between these two teams, and I really like what this team told me versus what that team told me, and so I'm going to sign with this team.
Right. And there's a level of accountability that the player can hold the team to. Well, you told me this. Like when you're playing NCAA and you're trying to recruit and you have to make these promises to these kids. And so you're like, okay, well, we're gonna win the national championship. Well, now at the end of the season, if you don't, that again, this is all video game, and he's going to say, I'm leaving the team because you didn't do that. It's the same thing here, where you have to talk to the actual player, not talk to an agent who then may or may not tell you the information. And so, not that every agent is withholding information from their player. I'm not trying to bad talk the agents, but not every agent is good, and agents are going to do what's in best interest for them to some extent. Now, it is also what's in best interest of their client, but at the same time, everyone wants to get paid, including the agent. And hey, if Team A is paying us 125 million over whatever, but Team B is paying us 120 million over whatever, I get a higher percentage from this team. Yeah, you're going to be second or third string over here, but you'd be starting over there. And I know you want to start, but we all get more money over here, and that's what I care about. And so it's this whole, you're in the room too, you get to talk to them. I like this change a lot. I also think sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, to add on to what you said, I think with the players, this is just during the 2-day tampering window. So even though they're right now, that it's just the agents talking to the teams, like the player can still look at the contract and all that stuff and sign it when it's not the 2-day tampering window, like when it's the actual league season and they're actually allowed to. So the player can still do that. But I think that there's such a rush to get things done because teams are trying to sign as many big free agents as they can right when the window opens officially. And so there's just like a rush to get everything done. And I think this kind of gives the players a little bit more time to just like look over everything that's presented to them. And so I think it's going to be beneficial for them.
Right. I agree.
What were you going to say?
No idea. Not important. No clue. Oh, you know what? I do remember. That's crazy. I don't usually do that. I don't remember that is. I also think it's going to the NFL. They did ESPN specifically NFL. They did huge shows for this opening of tampering period. It was free agency wasn't even open yet, but Monday the tampering window opened, and these networks had these huge shows to broadcast every single signing along the way. Schefter's fingers were on fire. Ian Rappaport, all these insiders had their Twitters just going crazy because every single piece of information they're trying to get it out as soon as possible. And so the NFL likes that. It draws more attention in, just like the draft. That's why they cut it to just the first round on day one, because that's where the excitement is. And they used to do round 1 and 2 on day one. Maybe it was 1 and 2 on day one. And okay, well, let's not cut the time down at all, but let's make it a bigger spectacle for day one. Let's draw more eyes in. If you watch the first round, chances are you'll tune in for at least parts of the day 2 and day 3. And so the NFL specifically, to bring more viewers, and more viewers means more dollars, to bring all that in, they want these big spectacles. And so they want the showcase of, hey, let's get these guys in here for the tampering periods. And if you can talk to another human who's the guy actually signing, chances are you have a higher possibility of signing them. And so it's that human interaction that drives it, rather than just agent interaction.
Right. So, Will, if you were an NFL owner, would you vote for or against this rule?
I would vote for it. I think it benefits the owners a lot. It benefits the
agree.
players, but it also benefits the owners in getting their players in faster.
Right. And just so everybody knows, just a reminder, there has to be a vote of at least 24 votes for this rule to take effect out of the 32. So 24 out of 32 owners have to say that they would like this rule to take effect in order for this to actually happen.
Quick correction before we get blasted on the internet. There's only 31 NFL owners and 1 team president.
Screw the Packers, dude. Screw the Packers.
You and I both know. Excuse me, there's only 31 owners. I actually think that
you're right. You're 100% right.
I actually think this doesn't benefit the Packers probably the most, because they do things by committee. I don't know what executive power their team president has. I've never looked into it. I've never needed to look into it. I'm not a general fan of the Packers. I don't hate them, but whatever. But if they don't have one guy able to just make, and I know they have a GM, but if they don't have one guy able to make these financial decisions, and if it is like a by committee thing, then that's just going to slow down the process, and this tampering window is just going to fly by before they can get anything done. Because when your team moves at the speed of bureaucracy, that's going to be slow, slow, slow.
Now it makes sense why the Packers were the one that proposed to ban the tush push, because all their owners were mad about it. It makes sense now. Makes sense now. All right. Well, let's move on to the second proposed rule by a team, which was the Cleveland Browns. They proposed to allow draft selections to be traded up to 5 seasons in the future. Right now, teams can only trade picks up to 3 years in the future, and the Browns want to increase that to 5 years. If I were a Browns fan, I would absolutely hate this proposed rule change to be able to trade picks 5 years in the future, because the last time we saw the Browns trade their draft picks 3 years in the future, it was the Deshaun Watson trade. And so it makes me wonder what trade they're trying to make that will set their franchise back another 5+ years.
Now,
it feels like the Browns are trying to do something totally irresponsible here.
Now, hold on. In the last 5 years, do you know how many GMs the Browns have had? 1. They've had the same GM since 2020. So they are betting on their GM to make the right decisions. Now, if we're being fair,
a poor choice.
If you look back to 2015 or 2014, do you know how many GMs they've had since 2014, the last 12 years? I guess we go back to, they've had 4 GMs since 2014, right? So their first guy made it 1 year, the next guy made it 1 year, the next guy made it 2 years, and then he's made it since 2020. And Andrew Berry's made it since 2020. So currently they're riding we'll call it a hot streak, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
That's what we'll call it. Yeah.
I think we're both on the same side here. This creates a problem of GMs selling the future of a franchise that they're not even going to be a part of. And it's possible that a GM, now obviously they want to be a part of it. The plan is, your 5-year plan is not to be fired from this team. Sure. But that's just not reality in the NFL. If you're not winning, you get moved on from most of the time. And so it's very possible that if I was to trade my 2030 pick, I could be fired, the next guy could be fired, the next guy could be fired, all without having a single first-round draft pick. And so we're getting judged and fired, and our performance reviews are based on decisions that somebody else made before we even showed up.
Right. So I said what I said about the Browns and how I hate it for the Browns. But if I were a Rams fan, I would actually like this because the Rams are actually good at using their draft picks responsibly to trade for players who don't suck. And this would give them the ability to do that even more than they already do. So if I were a Browns fan, I would hate this. If I were a Rams fan, I would probably actually like it. But Will, you are a Rams fan, so I don't know if you would want this rule to take effect or if you don't.
I'm against it. I'm against it for the same reason, and at risk of repeating myself here. It is not fair for your franchise's future to have current GM mortgage the future for potentially future GM or GMs. And you should always try to set your team up for success. And I get it when you're in win now mode, but especially let's look at the Buccaneers, 4 years ago, and let's look at the Rams right now. Very similar positions where they're in win now mode. We are trying to win a Super Bowl right now because our quarterback is about to retire. And so if we're trading away 5 years from now picks right now to make our team win right now, 5 years from now, we won't have probably a 10% of the roster will still be on that team in 5 years. And maybe that's too high, but your team will not be the same. And if you can't rebuild, if you don't have the pieces to rebuild, you're going to be stuck in a perpetual cycle of either mediocrity or suckiness.
So that actually brings up another angle that I thought of that needs to be looked at here, because if you trade your future draft picks 5 years down the road, it gives you more time to recoup the picks that you gave away. So let's just say, for example, that you make a trade with a team that's asking for 2 first-round picks. Well, if you give them a 2026 first rounder and you give them a 2030 first rounder, does it suck that you don't have a 2030 first round pick? Yes, but it also gives you a lot more time to get that draft capital back for that year. From that aspect, I actually like it because if you do trade a pick that far down the road, it gives you several years to get that draft capital back. But overall, I don't think this is a very good idea, specifically because I think teams like the Browns are just going to find ways to screw it up.
I think if they do move forward with this proposal, they need to do something like the NBA has. We are not allowed to trade first-round picks in consecutive years. I don't know what that rule actually is. Maybe it's the same trade, but you see it all the time where they trade 26 first-round pick, 28 first-round pick, but they're not allowed to trade consecutive first-round picks. Because it has potential to just destroy your team. Now, yes, in the NBA, there's only 2 rounds of the draft. I get it. There's the teams are smaller. There's less players. Yeah. But I think you're going to have some safety protection so these teams don't just wreck themselves. Or, for instance, heaven forbid, some GM knows he's about to get fired, or at the end of the season he's going to get fired, and just makes a bunch of poor decisions. And then, all right, I'm out. See ya. Or like, all right, I'm going to do all this and retire. Well, I thought it was in the best interest. And then I guess not. Not that any of these people in the general manager of the NFL's positions are any amount unprofessional. Well, maybe, probably some amount. But business-wise, I don't think they're any amount unprofessional when it comes to the business decisions they make. I truly believe they believe it is the best option for their team as it sits currently. I'm not trying to slander these GMs. There's too much risk to move forward with this proposal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I can see how this would benefit a team potentially, but I just think that teams would be more irresponsible with these picks being traded in the future than they would be responsible with them. So if it were me, I would vote against this and just to keep it the way it is. Will, I'm assuming you would be the same.
Concur, yes. I would also vote against it.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's all we have for the proposed rule changes from the teams, but Will is going to go over the proposed rule changes by the competition committee.
Okay, so there's 3 here that all kind of go together. And so I'm going to read them off actually as one rule, although there are 3 separate rule changes. One is, and these are all submitted by the playoff committee, by the competition committee. So the first one is to permit the kicking team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game. Along with that, they've got to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking from the 50-yard line. And along with that, again, it's to modify the kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team players in the setup zone. And so they want to change the kicking game to where you can onside kick whenever you want to. If you kick out of bounds, I think Dallas did this, where they were kicking from the 50, and it's like, well, if we kick it out of bounds, they're going to get it to 40 anyway, and we'd rather not chance a run back, and just all this other stuff. So you just kicked it out of bounds, and so to more heavily penalize that. In addition, the first one, the onside kick and the modified kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team players to be set up wherever, that those two go more hand in hand with the, hey, you can stand wherever you want because we may onside kick it whenever we want to.
So did I hear correctly that they don't have to declare that it's an onside kick? They can just do an onside kick?
That is actually no. So to permit a team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game, which takes away the surprise of an onside kick.
Oh, I think that's dumb. I think you should be able to onside kick it whenever you want. Just like in that Super Bowl, what was it, the Saints and Colts?
Yep.
Yeah, like in that Super Bowl, that was cool because nobody expected.
I think it was Will Lutz, right after halftime. Sean Payton calls an onside kick.
I don't remember who the kicker was, but yeah, that was cool because nobody expected that to happen. Right. And the Saints got the ball. That was cool. I think you should be able to do that whenever you want. Having to declare it is so stupid.
Well, the problem is right now, if you do that, you didn't land inside the kicking zone. So it's a penalty. It's a procedural foul for not landing your kick inside the landing zone. So you can't, the way the rules currently sit. I don't like
that doesn't change the fact that it's done.
I don't really like what they've done with the kickoff. I don't really know. I have no real opinion on this. I think you should be able to declare an onside kick whenever you want because the percentage is so low that you should just be able to. But the other thing is if you're going to declare it, then there has to be the substitution rule, right? Where you walk out and declare, there has to be time for substitution, and you're at risk for delay a game. Because there is a play clock on the kickoff. Whether we realize it or not, it's there. And so you are at risk of substitution violations because when the offense, in this case, kicking team subs, the defense then has to have time to sub as well.
When are they going to finally figure out what they're doing with the kickoff?
They change when they remove it from the game. When it gets removed from the game.
Probably about the same time that they figure out what a catch is.
That will never happen. They will remove the kickoff from the game first, and they'll just start your drive on the 25-yard line, offense only. Kickers are only here to kick field goals, which
anyways
that creates a whole other host of problems. Anyway, so let's move on to the fourth one here. The fourth one by competition committee proposal here to allow league personnel to consult with on-field officials when considering disqualifications for both flagrant football acts and non-football acts without being called on the field. So basically, they get to call NFL league officials, and when the referee puts the headset on to review a foul, the league officials get to consult with them rather than having to be on the field to talk about it. They get to watch a replay of it and say yes or no, is how I view this. And I'm for this because I think it will be less emotional because as a very much lower level referee than NFL, you still, as a referee, feel the emotion of the game. When team emotion starts to rise, your emotion starts to rise. You are in the moment with the players. Now, you are not playing, and your job is to not affect the game emotionally. But sometimes when two players start fighting, you get heated with them. When people are mad around you, it raises your own emotion levels. And so I think it would be very beneficial to have someone not on the field who can't feel the emotion, who isn't trying to judge intent based on on-field emotion, because you're regularly doing that. Well, I viewed the intent as this. You have no idea what the intent is. You're just making a gut assessment based on personal feeling. And so you remove all of that from the on-field officials to consult with. Not that they're making the call, but it's, hey, from a third party, how do you view this? Okay, well, we view it this way, and this is how we're going to rule. Do you stand behind this? One of those kind of things.
I think they should be able to consult on anything, but that's just me. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the next thing we're going to talk about. But Will, do you have anything else on that?
No, I don't. I like this one. I would vote for this one.
I would too. All right. So this isn't a proposed rule change, but Will, because he is a referee, he wanted to talk about the collective bargaining agreement with the NFL Referees Association. And so it's not a proposed rule change, but a notification came out last week about the NFL laying the groundwork for hiring replacement officials this season if the league can't agree on a new collective bargaining agreement with the NFL Referees Association. And there was a notification that came out today, and I sent it to you, Will. I don't know if you read it, but I just want to read a little part of this real quick, just so everybody knows kind of what's going on here. So this is kind of the groundwork that they're laying if they have replacement officials. So this says, the NFL Competition Committee has finalized a series of wide-ranging rule change proposals to account for the growing possibility of a work stoppage amid tense collective bargaining agreement negotiations with the NFL Referees Association, according to a list released by the league Tuesday. The changes would only apply if the NFL hires replacement officials, a process it began preparing for earlier this month by reaching out to mostly small college officiating supervisors in an effort to develop a list of 150 replacement candidates. If a work stoppage were to continue in the regular season, the new rules would create a type of centralized officiating that the league hopes would help avert the chaos encountered in 2012 when the replacement officials worked the first 3 weeks of the season. While each game would still be officiated from the field, staff members in the league's Art McNally Game Day Central Command Center in New York would be permitted to weigh in on a variety of called and uncalled penalties and would take on additional roles following the 2-minute warning and in overtime. In my opinion, they should always be able to do that. I don't care if they're replacement officials or not. If the call is wrong, the call is wrong. And New York should be able to overrule a call that is wrong. So for me, why can't you do that always? I don't get it.
Would you like the answer? I have an answer for you. The reason is because NFL referees are not employees of the NFL. The NFL,
But they're still wrong.
Sure. I'm not telling you you're wrong. They are not full-time employees of the NFL. They are actually independent contractors who work through a union or an association, a union, whatever you want to call it, and contract with the NFL. So all grievances and all calls made by those referees are union specific. Sorry, my union doesn't talk to your union. Get out of here. There's a bubble of protection. The easiest way to fix this is to absorb the NFL referees union into the NFL bubble, much like the NFLPA, the Players Association, have a referees association, get them all under one room, one house, one collective, if you want to call it that. And then at that point, you can have full-time referees, you can have full-time training, you can have off-season training, you can have discipline, you can have standards where you have to be this good, and if you're not this good, you don't get to referee, or you don't get to be a white hat, or you don't get to be this position, that position. You get bumped down to these. And then there should be some sort of like flow-through, basically, where players who retire, who can prove themselves as X, Y, and Z, can work through a process to become league officials or league referees, because no one's going to know the game better than the people who are actively doing it for their career. Now, there would have to be some bias and some positional bias and team bias that you'd have to work through. But again, these are professionals who are doing their job professionally. I don't think it would be as big an issue.
So, Will, I have an opinion on this. And obviously, I don't know any information about these negotiations. So you're an actual official, so you might have a very different opinion than me on this. And again, I don't know any information here, but I feel like a big hangup in negotiations between the NFL and the Referees Association could be the NFL trying to give some sort of penalty to officials for missed or bad calls. The NFL fans have been pounding the table for officials to be held accountable for making bad calls, and I understand that the officials are graded based off of their performance, but really the only consequence is not getting to work playoff games. That's like your boss coming to you and saying, you messed up so you don't get to work overtime. Oh man, you mean I don't have to work extra hours? I'm so disappointed. There's no real consequence for these officials for making bad calls right now. So to me, I feel like it could potentially be a hang-up in negotiations if the NFL wants to try and put some sort of consequence in place. I don't know if that would even be a thing that they're going to talk about because, again, you mentioned that the Referees Association are not part of the NFL. So I don't know if they can even do that. But if I were the NFL, I would try to put in some sort of consequence for the officials when they suck.
Yes, but I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree. There should be some sort of accountability, which is just a garbage corporate word nowadays. It doesn't really mean anything, but every corporate entity everywhere likes to throw it around. There should be some accountability held to these referees, but there's not currently, and they can't because you work for a contract or subcontractor, right? A concrete subcontractor.
Yes.
I also work for a construction subcontractor. This would be like whoever our client is trying to penalize us. Well, you didn't do this, that, or the other. Now the only thing they can do to us, if it's truly wrong, like if we broke contract, that's one thing. But if they wanted it one way and you didn't, it's not inside your contract and you did it a different way, well, we actually didn't define those terms of our contract. The only thing they can do to you is not hire you back. And the problem is as we saw with the replacement refs the last time, the crop of, well, fine, I won't hire you back, I'll hire somebody else. Those crop of people aren't there. They don't exist. The caliber of referee that we expect and demand out of the NFL referees is not just a dime a dozen. It truly is not. Matter of fact, the ones we have, we still complain about because they're not good enough. How is this an NFL ref? How are we making these calls in the NFL?
Because they suck.
Right, because, and this is, this is all third-party knowledge. This is not, obviously I have no sources inside the NFL Referees Association, but this is what I've heard as general opinion. Part of the thing is these refs don't want to be full-time employees. They don't want to be held to off-season standards. They don't want to be held to all this extra stuff because they're not part of the NFL. You can't make us do an off-season training or off-season classes because we don't work for you. We're part-time employees that are contractors for you. And so the NFL keeps trying to put all these expectations on him. The NFL Refereeing Association says, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And then this is where we get. I'm very curious to see the new terms of the agreement when they agree upon it. I've been saying this since mid last season. I truly don't think they get this done before the season starts. It's going to take some other egregious call, just like the last time when the referees finally say, okay, we can't, they are butchering our product too bad. We have got to step back in. And as you mentioned, Joel, it was very subtle in there, but in that thing you read, they reached out to small college programs. Correct? That's what you said?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Meaning they're not taking the best from the SEC. They're not taking the best from the Big Ten. They're not taking the best from the Big 12, the ACC, the Mountain West, all of these big, even so much as the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, the MAC, the whatever you want to call it, all of the group of four, the big four, and then the group of five conferences, they're not taking those ones because they still have to put a product out on Saturday, and those conferences can't lose their employees or their referees. They're not, again, I don't believe college referees work for the actual conferences, but that could be wrong. I don't know as much about college refereeing. However, the small-time colleges where you can replace that crop, they have the football knowledge, and hey, this is a lesser-known college. This is your D2 schools. They can be trained up, and we could be good. That's how we get here, is that the college program, NFL won't sacrifice the college programs that we see on Sunday TV because, again, it's all about revenue and streaming and money. But the teams that don't get streamed as much, that's where they're going to be like, okay, well, we need 150 D2 referees because you're not on TV anyway, and you can be taught the NFL game.
So what I'm taking from this, Will, is that you're probably going to be moving up a level in your referee career.
Absolutely not. It's not that I don't want to. I think it would be cool to be a college ref. But what people don't realize is because you're an independent contractor, they may reimburse travel, but you pay travel and they reimburse you. You pay for your own this, that, and the other, and they eventually reimburse you. And so there's a lot of upfront money that, as a dad of two young children, I just don't have readily at hand. So
yeah, screw that. I did that for one of my last jobs. Screw that.
that, and you don't just, especially from high school, you don't just jump to D2. You go to like junior colleges in your United States region. I referee with people who referee baseball collegiately and volleyball collegiately, and one guy refereed a game on Friday night in Corvallis and had to fly to Idaho because it's in the Northwest to referee a volleyball game Saturday afternoon. And no, thank you. And it was like, he's like, oh yeah, it's like $125 to referee this college match. Your flight costs more. It costs more to get there than it's worth the game. Oh yeah, they partially reimburse that. All right, I'm out. They can have fun. I'm so glad for them doing it. They're passionate for it. Without referees, the game doesn't happen. And so it is vitally important, which is why I'm going to stay in the high school and younger, because that's the programs have to grow from somewhere.
Well, I tried to give Will a promotion, but he turned it down. So
no, absolutely. No, thank you. Appreciate it, but no, thank you.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add with any of this stuff we've been talking about?
No. Yeah, that's not true. Yes, I do. I have one final thing here. As an NFL fan and a fan of the product, be prepared for the referees to not be there. For the Ed Hockuleys, I guess Sean, I think Ed retired, the Sean Hockuleys, the Jeromes, all the people we're used to seeing on Sunday, get ready for them to not be there and get ready for a worse product. And I mean worse in every way. Because just like every human nature, when you're not being watched closely, you're going to take every advantage you can to your own benefit. I'm going to hold more. I'm going to be a bit more offsides. I'm going to be a bit more pass interference-y. And that stuff is just going to get missed because you're going to try to crash course these referees. It's March 24th today, now that we're recording. League starts in 6 months. I mean, in less than 6 months. By September 24th, we are 4 weeks into the season. And so in less than 6 months from now, right? Yeah, less than 6 months from now, the season starts, and it takes more than 6 months to learn the NFL game. Even when moving from college to NFL, it takes more than 6 months, especially when you don't have any actual trainers on the field. They don't throw new referees in at any level into the hot seat. Okay, go figure it out. You're a full crew of new people. You put one new person on a crew with a series of veterans. That way they can be comforted and ask questions. And if they make a mistake, possibly somebody else is going to capture it. We will not get the benefit of that. It'll be a bunch of new people, and it's not going to be a good product. Hopefully it lasts 3 weeks at max, like last time. But I don't know. I don't have any good feeling about it, truly.
I don't either. So basically, everyone just get ready for your team to get screwed somehow.
Yeah, fantasy teams, NFL teams, just get ready because these refs will be to blame for something every single game, guaranteed. And I'm not big into blaming referees.
All right. Well, if you don't have anything else to add, we'll move on to a couple scouting reports. We had 4 planned. I don't know if we're going to get through 4, so we'll see how many we get through here. And I know I say this every time, but just to recap, what we're doing is we're going through the ESPN Top 50 Big Board and scouting those players 1 through 50, and then building our own big board. And by the way, we will rank our players again once we are all 3 back together again, because we didn't do that last time either.
Right.
So once Avery's back with us, we'll rank the guys that we have on the big board. ESPN keeps moving their list around, and so we're kind of just jumping around here. But the first player we have on the list today is Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling, who is currently ranked the number 14 player on ESPN's Top 50 Big Board. So I will share my screen here, get the slideshow going so we can see the scouting reports. I wanted to start this one off with a question for you, Will.
All right.
So Monroe Freeling only had 17 starts in college. Do you think he's a day 1 impact starter in the NFL?
Crazy. Let me just go right to my notes. Sitting out for a year will help him out extensively. I wrote that down. He should not start day 1. Should not, no siree. Whoever drafts him in the first round will be spending a first-round pick on a person you do not want starting to begin with.
That's why I asked the question. I thought you might say that.
Would you like me to go into more? I know I'm
Yes.
your default offensive line guy. Monroe Freeling, 6'7". had to do it.
It was. I knew
Couldn't
you were going to
stop.
say that as soon as I put the height on his scouting report.
Couldn't stop myself. 315 pounds, 34 and 3/4 inch arms, huge hands. Ran a 4.9 340 with a 171 split, which is really quick. 33-inch vertical, 9'7" broad jump. Heck of an athlete. Good player. He is a true tackle. We've talked about some of the other guys with Maui Noah and Fanu and Wilmu, that there's potential for these guys moving inside because it might fit the play style better in the NFL. In fact, I think that was like the first thing I wrote down for Caleb Wilmu.
Spencer Fano. It was Spencer
Fano. Sure. Yeah. That was like one of the first things I wrote down was like, oh, he should move inside. He should not play tackle anymore. Anyway, not the point. But Monroe Freeling is like a true tackle. And in the pass blocking, he can stand up on an island on his own. And he can be out there. He can make the pass block. He can block the edge. He's got very quick feet and incredibly long arms. At 34 inches, we just talked about this. His arms are 3 inches longer than yours. And if you don't think that 3 inches arm length matters, go ahead and put your arm on your kid's head and see if they can reach you. Now, that's more than 3 inches. I get that, but that's basically what it is. It's like the old cartoons where the bully is holding the kid's head and the kid's just swinging his arms. You can't even reach him. That's what you're dealing with here. And 3 inches is significant in this case. And so when you're able to replace your hands fast, that is significant. Again, he's 6'7", has a very large frame with room to gain weight. He's actually pretty lean for how tall he is. The one part of his game that he does need to work on is his run blocking. He gets to the second level fast because he's very quick. The problem is he stands up too tall, and he can't get down to where these players are just scraping around him. He doesn't hold his block well at the second level. Oftentimes people just get around him or shed the block quickly and get around him at the second level. But when he does make contact, very good at creating, sealing the edge, creating the hole. Great player, but again, at the NFL level, he's going to need to sit for a year. And we'll talk about this more with other players, but the NFL game is constantly changing. And right now we're moving back into a run game phase of it, where it's more play action, more run, more play action, less just solid passing the whole time. And so he's going to have to work on his run game and his combo blocks to be able to get to be very proficient at that level.
Yeah, and one thing, so I had two things actually that I wrote down for his areas of improvement that I wanted to bring up. One was that he plays too upright, which you mentioned.
Yep.
The other thing was that he doesn't get the best hand placement as much as he should. He needs to get better at knowing where his hands need to go, because I saw a lot of plays where his hand would slip off defenders because he would place it either too wide or too high, and then he'd have to reset. And so he's going to have to work on that, because if you do that against NFL defenders, you are going to be in trouble. It's just not going to work. But overall, like, one thing I love about Monroe Freeling is that although he lacks the overall starting experience, he did display visible improvements as the 2025 season went on. There were several areas where he showed clear improvement, and that's what you're looking for in a guy going from college to the NFL. Is he going to continue to get better? If he's already this good after 17 starts, here's where we think he can be after X amount of years. So I think Monroe Freeling is rising because of his potential rather than because he's a refined NFL-ready prospect right now. He's kind of the opposite of Venga Ioane, who we talked about last week, whose ceiling and floor are very close to each other. I think his ceiling and floor are very far apart.
I can agree with that. I would not be mad if the Rams took him at 13. And that's kind of how I judge this crop of players and where we're at in our big boards. I would not be upset if they picked him at 13. We talked about this on the phone earlier. Freeling's been as high as 8 on the big board. I think he's down to 14 now on ESPN's big board. And so he's kind of been all over the place because they don't know what to do with these offensive linemen, because there's no true standout tackles. There's only one real good standout guard. There's just not a lot of top end talent in the draft when it comes to offensive linemen this year. Not to say that they won't become that, but it's really hit and miss. And I think that with Freeling sitting behind somebody who is aged and experienced and willing to teach, that's a big part of it, is that not just the coach, but the player has to be willing to teach. I think he's going to be, it's going to turn him into a year 2 and perpetual starter after that.
Yeah, and before we end this scouting report for Monroe Freeling, I just want to point out a couple things that I really liked about him. You did mention kind of one of the things, but I think Monroe Freeling can probably move better than any other tackle prospect in this draft class. When you look at Monroe Freeling and when he's asked to be a move blocker, he's out there exploding out of his stance and he's running like a tight end. This guy can move. He ran a 4.93 40, which tied for third among offensive linemen at the combine, and a 1.71 10-yard split, which ranked second. And I know you already mentioned that, but his testing numbers back up what you see on tape with his ability to move. And because he's got that ability to move, you do see him blocking multiple defenders on the same play. But kind of like we already talked about, like he needs to work on his hand placement to get better at blocking those multiple defenders. So he does block multiple defenders, but he doesn't block them in the I guess like the most technical way is what I'm trying to say. So that's one thing that I liked about him. The other thing that I liked is I saw a lot where he can transition from one defender to another in pass protection when players are trying to do stunts, when defenders are trying to do stunts. He did not get confused by them at all, in my opinion, and he started blocking his original assignment when the play would start, and then he quickly realized, okay, now he's going there and he's coming to me, so now I need to block him. So I was impressed with his ability to just kind of switch from one defender to the other without any sort of confusion or any problems at all. So I noticed that on tape, and that was something that I was really impressed with.
I think the hand placement thing is going to be a quickly corrected thing in the NFL because, like you mentioned, he's only had 17 starts. He only started for one full season. So I think this hand placement thing is going to be something that's going to be easily fixed in the NFL. As you mentioned, he started for 17 games. That's it. Only one full season. I think there was a couple other starts along the way, but only one full season of starting. And so he just doesn't have the experience of different levels of not that he didn't face a bunch of different edge rushers, but the talent and ability, again, SEC, I understand it just means more down there, whatever you want to say. He just needs more time. He needs more experience. He needs more people to go up against, more competition to learn different elements of the game. So I as much as I'm worried about that, I'm less worried. I do think that's something easily fixable.
Where do you rank him as far as potential versus Fano and Lomer?
I think his pure athleticism puts him higher than. Ooh, now I have to think about how these ranked athletically. Because one of them ran really well and one of them did not run as well.
I think it was Fano that ran well. But that's like Fano's thing. Is like Fano's thing is his ability to move.
Right. I think I like him better than both, truly. Due to size versus athleticism comparison, I think I like him better. Now, I do believe. Man, I'm getting all my players mixed up. We've talked about too many of these guys. I believe Fano only started for his first. This was his first year starting, or am I just making stuff up now?
No. That no, that's not Fano.
Nope, Fano's a 3-year starter.
This is Freeling's first full year starting.
Yep. Yeah, just going back over my notes. I mean, I've got written here. Lomu has first round talent and the third round body. And I mean, the first thing I wrote down for Fano is whoever drafts him should look to switching him to guard, which means his athleticism is great, but his size isn't there and everything you need there for the tackle. So I think I put him ahead of both of those guys.
He's not 6'7". I had to one more time.
I don't know if I put him ahead of Francis Malinois or not. I have to review the tape side by side, one right after the other, to really get a good gauge of that.
That's fair. Do you have anything else to add with Monroe Freeling?
No, I like this guy a lot, though.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential.
Coming from me. Yeah, it's saying something coming from me. I don't like anybody. Notable hater on this show.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on to the next prospect on the list, which is Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr., who is currently ranked as the number 23 player on ESPN's Top 50 Big Board. Omar Cooper Jr. might be one of the biggest risers I've seen through this draft process, honestly. I haven't heard anyone talking about him until the last couple weeks. I haven't seen any mocks with him going in the first round until just recently. But after watching his tape, I can see why he's rising so much. Omar Cooper Jr.'s best trait is his ability to consistently break tackles. In 2025, he forced a missed tackle rate of over 30%, meaning almost 1 out of every 3 defenders who tried to bring him down failed. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he's turning into a running back and is just running through guys. And there's always a place in the NFL for a guy who can just turn a 1-yard screen pass into a first down. Because Omar Cooper Jr. can do that, I think he can be a big contributor in an NFL offense from day one.
I agree. The first thing I wrote here is dude balls out. I mean, you are
does.
right. When that ball gets into his hand, he just makes plays. That's the big reason why he has 13 touchdowns this season. I mean, when it's in his hand, he reads his blockers, he runs with them instead of outrunning them. He just does the right thing and makes the right play. This is his first year in the slot. He moved inside this year for the first time, and it worked wonderfully for him. He just has a pure natural feeling of finding the soft spot in the zone from the inside and then making the play, as we've mentioned a few times now, just making the play when the ball's in his hand. I'm excited for him at the pro level for whatever team truly, and I think he has potential to be like an early season Emeka Egbuka, where he's not the number one, and he's a rookie, so you just kind of ignore him, but yet he's just like the biggest playmaker on the team. Now, I don't want him to fade off like, truly unfortunately, Egbuka did, but
that was play calling. That wasn't because of skill.
Sure. Well, that's fair. You're right. It definitely wasn't. It definitely was not because of skill. It was not because of skill.
The Bucs offensive coordinator last season would run things in practice and then not do them in the game.
So, yeah,
I don't know why, but
I view Omar Cooper Jr. as similar. That Indiana team was so loaded offensively with weapons and talents that any one of those guys could pop off at any moment, and so they all benefited from having each other on the team. And I think it's going to be the same way in the NFL, where he's going to be the young new kid on the block, and he's going to go to whatever team, and hopefully they've got a star receiver or two on their team, and he can just sneak in there and just make every play, because when the ball's in his hand, that's when he does the best. Screen passes, bubbles, all that kind of stuff, and then he's just making plays in the open field.
Yes, Indiana used him a lot on like shorter and intermediate routes just to get him the ball in space and let him go to work after the catch, which he is very good at. Now, the downside to that in the NFL is that Indiana's offensive system made it easy for him to get open. Right. And his current route tree isn't super developed because the system just didn't require it to be. I think he can easily develop his route tree, though, at the NFL level, especially in the right system, because he does show flashes of being able to do other things outside of shorter routes. But again, Indiana's offense just used him where he really excelled, which is with those short screen passes, crossing routes, slant routes. So I think he has the potential to expand his route tree, but you just don't see it a lot on tape because that's just not what Indiana needed from him. Now, I have a question with one of his skills, Will, that I want to know your opinion on. How do you feel about Omar Cooper Jr.'s ability to win contested catches?
Oh, it leaves much to be desired, in my opinion. I feel like he wants to be physical after the catch. He wants to get the ball in his hand to be physical after the catch. But when making the catch, there's not a lot there. I would rather catch the open ball and hit you afterwards, which is not great for the NFL because even when you're not open, you're going to get the ball anyway. The windows for being what they call open are much smaller. And so you have to make more contested catches. But I don't think he had a high rate of success, did he, on contested catches?
So here's the thing is I tried to find this number for his contested catches. The first one I saw was 56%, but then I saw about 12 other numbers that were different than that. So I actually don't know what his contested catch rate was. The like lowest one I saw was 50%. Right, exactly. Yeah. The lowest one I saw was 50%. So I'm going to assume that it was 50% because that was the lowest. Right. But I saw it as low as 50 and I saw it as high as 56. So it's somewhere in between there. Sure. But I don't know what the actual number was. But I just feel like, go ahead.
Sorry, so they call it a 50-50 ball, but as a receiver, your percentage should be higher than that.
Yes. I just feel like Omar Cooper Jr., for how physical he is of a player with the ball in his hands, it doesn't match the physicality of what you would expect from him in contested catch situations. He's not winning contested catches at the same rate of a Mekhi Lemon or a Carnell Tate. I just want to see the physicality in the air match the physicality on the ground. However, I will say that his body control when he's in the air is very good. He's got very good body control and he's very aware of where he is all the time. He's very good at getting his toes down near the sideline. And there's a couple plays that I want to highlight here. One being against Oregon where Fernando Mendoza threw him a short pass to the outside, and it was a little bit too far outside, and so he catches it with one hand, and he brings it in with a defender all over him, breaks the tackle, and then runs up the field to get a first down. So that's just an example of his body control. The second play is against Penn State when Indiana was down late in the game. Fernando Mendoza just throws a ball high in the back of the end zone, and Omar Cooper Jr. catches it. And when you're looking at the play, it looks like there's no chance that this guy's going to come down with the ball inbounds, but somehow he gets his feet down. It was just an incredible catch. He's just got really good body control, and he's aware of where he is, whether it's the back of the end zone or on the sideline, to get his feet down. So that's something that's really impressive. But again, the physicality in the air just wasn't there for me, but the physicality on the ground is very, very good.
I can agree with that, yes. I'm trying to figure out where I like him in the draft, where I want him to go. When, I guess, maybe is the better word. I don't know. See, I don't think he's top end first round talents, but I don't want him to go. Man, I mean, maybe the Bears. Maybe the Bears towards the middle of end of the first round.
I don't know if the Bears are probably going to go defense. In my opinion,
that makes sense.
The Bills, maybe. I think the Bills could use another receiver. I know they just got DJ Moore, but I think they could use another receiver. Any team could use a player who can break 30% of tackles.
Right. I could see Dallas at pick 20.
I think they probably go defense too.
I'm assuming they go defense for their first one. I wouldn't be surprised if they switched it up. I just hope it's not the Browns at the end of the first round, because I do think he's going to need, and I say this for every rookie coming in, right? This is just, I guess, my line, but he's going to need assistance from other people to bring the pressure off of him. He's not your standout number one guy currently.
But I think he will have a very good rookie season, and I think he will contribute to an NFL offense right away, in my opinion. I think he'll be a contributor from day one.
Yeah.
Do you have time for one more, Will? Because the next guy we have on the list, I actually really want to talk about because I really like him a lot.
Sure, let's go.
All right, so the next guy on the list is Georgia linebacker C.J. Allen, who is currently ranked as the number 31 player on ESPN's Top 50 Big Board. I honestly don't know why more people aren't talking about C.J. Allen. I think C.J. Allen modeled his skill set after the linebackers from the early 2010s NCAA football games. I remember being in high school playing NCAA football 10, and it seemed like every time I'd throw the ball over the middle, a linebacker would jump what seemed like 12 feet in the air and swat the ball away, and it was the most annoying thing ever. That's the type of stuff that C.J. Allen is doing when the ball is in the air, and that's what made me fall in love with his game. I related to that because I lived it in my NCAA football my player career so many times. So I was very impressed with C.J. Allen because of that, and I think it's even more impressive because C.J. Allen isn't the biggest linebacker. When you look at his measurables, he's 6'1" with 31.5-inch arms. Those aren't measurables of a guy you'd expect to be out there doing that type of stuff. That's something that you expect Sonny Styles to be doing because he's 6'5" with almost 33-inch arms and an insane vertical jump. And I don't know what C.J. Allen's vertical jump is because he didn't test at the combine, but I'd have to assume that it's up there because his ability to make plays and just swat the ball down when the ball's in the air, it was very impressive to me. Again, reminded me of those linebackers from the NCAA football games that can seemingly just jump as high as they want to get the ball. Very, very impressive to me. I like C.J. Allen a lot, and I think more people should be talking about him.
So they're not, because he's not testing. He's got lingering knee swelling from a November injury, and so he's not athletically testing, and so he's not putting the product out there. And I think that's part of the reason why there's some apprehension to him of like, well, maybe not. But he's your leader. He's your guy. He's your in the NFL, he'd be your green dot guy. Excuse me. He's the guy getting everybody lined up. He's the guy getting everything ready to go. And he's also an elite run stopper. He gets downhill fast, reads the play, moves to the right spot, and makes the stop. Everything he's got going for him is dependable. I think it's just the right word. He's playing in an era that is too late or too early for him. I think we said the same thing about, there's another linebacker who, was it Styles specifically? Yeah, freak athlete, playing football 20 years too late. Yep, bingo. We've got a very similar thing going on here, where it's just a size difference. He's a team leader. He's a player you want for the current trend of the NFL. And that's the same thing with Sonny Styles, with we're shifting more into a run game. We were just in a passing era of NFL, and now the offenses cheat, right? They know the play call before the play happens. And so the offenses, in this case, they're going to adjust based on what your defense did last year. And so our offense is now going to, you're stacking heavy secondary, so we're going to shift to running until you can stack the box again, and then we're going to go back to throwing over the top of you. And so he's a guy at the very forefront of this change. You got a couple of them this year, and Styles and Allen, where they're just going to stand there and they're going to stop the run. And I really like what he has going on.
One thing you mentioned is that C.J. Allen is always flying to the ball in the run game. I think when he's flying around on the field, he looks like a missile out there when he's closing on the ball carrier. He's just constantly around the ball, constantly flying around the field. However, I think that can also get him into a little bit of trouble sometimes because he can get too eager in certain situations. I think he can get caught against play action sometimes, which leaves the middle of the field open. And just to give an example, there was one play where I saw a tight end run towards CJ Allen and then just turn around and stop and waited for the ball to come to him. And the reason he was able to get the ball is because instead of covering him, CJ Allen thought the ball was going somewhere else. And so he started to react as if the ball was going that way, and he just left the tight end open. Now, CJ Allen did make the play. He made the tackle on that play, but had he just stayed with the tight end, he wouldn't have had to make the play. It wouldn't have been a play because CJ Allen would have been right there. So that's something that he needs to work on. But overall, I think he's a very instinctive linebacker who has got excellent closeout speed and is just an overall solid playmaker.
I agree. So I actually saw this same draft comp, which I thought was very interesting. Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. When
he's an awesome player. I really want to talk about him coming up. He's an awesome player.
He is the exact same height and weight as CJ Allen. They're both 6'1", 230 pounds. And when you watch them on film, Jacob Rodriguez looks significantly smaller than CJ Allen. Allen plays a lot bigger than his frame. And so I think that that's going to be a huge benefit for him moving forward.
Yeah, I really like CJ Allen a lot. And again, I think more people should be talking about him. We had one more planned for this week, but I think we're going to just do that next week. So Avery should be back with us next week. And unless something significant happens for us to talk about, we'll probably just be doing a full episode of scouting reports for you guys. So we'll probably get to hopefully at least 6 players, do 6 scouting reports. The NFL draft is pretty much a month away now. So we need to get through as many prospects as we can. And then we will add these guys and rank these guys in our top 50 big board. So Will, do you have anything else to add before we close out?
I do not. I hope that Avery doesn't have to deal with his girlfriend's friend ever again. And you know what's great is neither Avery nor his girlfriend nor that friend will ever hear me say that. But you know who will? Dwayne. We love you, Dwayne.
All right. Well, as always, guys, don't forget to keep your balls played with. We'll see you next time.
Bye now, y'all. Also, Mark Davis's haircut still sucks.